You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back to today's Motivation and Mindset Monday show. So great to have you here today. Looking forward to starting the week off right. And hopefully we've got an excellent topic for you in how to make the impossible goals appear in your life. So right now, all of us, right, we're dreaming about something, we wish for something. There's something that we would like to have in our life, but we just don't see how it could possibly come true. Well, the problem with this is it's simply flawed thinking. And that's because any goal, any desire, any dream you have for yourself goes through what's called a 4-part achievement cycle. And most of us just get hung up on that first rung. The first part, which is looking at the goal as simply impossible. So what I want to do today is to take you through that 4-part series, and it's a predictable series. That's the whole thing about it. It's predictable. And as we move through the 4-part series, I think you're going to begin to have a different understanding on not only goal achievement, but really how do we attain that? How do we bring it into our life so that it's not so scary and overwhelming that it's not possible that it could come true in our life, but that it is. And not only can you do it, you'll be able to teach others how to do it as well. So let's get right into it. Let's get started. And the first part to this 4-part goal achievement cycle is this, right? Is making the impossible come true in your life. And I don't want to say possible, and you'll find out in just one moment, because that is not the final stage. So the first part of this achievement cycle of making impossible, remember, not just a regular goal. This is not a regular goal. This is a goal that you believe to be impossible, right? So this is a goal that you just couldn't imagine coming true, but you would like it in your life. This is something that you want for yourself. Well, this is the impossible stage. This is the beginning stage, probably where you're at right now from some of your goals. Keep in mind, you've achieved some of your goals. You believe you'll achieve some of your goals, but there are some that you just say it's not possible, right? So look at it this way. This is the stage you're at for the impossible stage. You'd like to achieve something, but you can't fathom how. You just don't know how. Okay, so you say, yes, I'd like to have whatever it might be. And if you go through my 5 that I always share with people, which is the career, and it's the body, and it's the health, and it's the spirituality, and it's the relationships. I think everything kind of fall into those 5 for the most part in life. So that's why I lump those as my big 5 categories. I think more than that kind of becomes overwhelming in anything. So that's why I try to keep things to 3 and 5s, because that seems to be a manageable amount. But when we look at those 5 right there, you might be doing really one in some and falling behind in others, or maybe just one. So if you look at it, you're saying, well, I can't achieve it. That's impossible. And you might be saying that because you don't feel, you use the no's, right? I have no time. I have no money. I have no experience. I'm too old, or I'm too young, or no one in my family has ever done this. No one's ever achieved this. No one in my social circle's ever done this. No one in my state's ever done this. You can take it as far as you want to go. But this is the impossible, where basically you're convincing yourself. Like, you're convincing you. No one else is doing it. No one else is telling you can't do it, but you're convincing you. So your conscious mind is telling your subconscious mind you can't do it, and your subconscious mind is just saying, yeah, you're right, you can't do it. You've programmed yourself to believe that this is not a possibility. And, for me, I saw this absolutely when I was sick. When I was 17, I said, it's impossible for me to get well. Now, in the beginning, I didn't believe that. I thought I would get better. But over time, I said, no, it's not possible. And the reason is that, most people in my family are sick, and they didn't get sick maybe until they were a little older. But, it just started younger with me, or I just had bad genetics, or all the best Harvard medical doctors that I went to, all the specialists, told me that I was just going to have to manage my diseases, right? I was just going to manage them. I was going to have to learn how to live with these diseases in my life. And so I assumed that it was not possible. If the best doctors in the world are saying, the most brilliant people are saying, you can't do this, It's not going to happen. There's no way to get better. Maybe you could take these experimental biological drugs, or this Cortef for your Addison's disease and this Florinef for your POTS and all these different types of medications. You can try to manage your disease with these types of medications, but you're not getting well. So to me then, it was an impossible dream, and impossible dreams make you very depressed. That's just the way it is. There are things that you want in your life that, they don't come from just your head, they come from your heart. You want this for yourself because you feel it's part of your journey, your path, your purpose in life. And when you can't have a true desire, you do get depressed. You do get down. It's a natural, normal reaction to not being able to achieve what you want in this life. Not for selfish reasons, right? It can't be selfish-wise. It has to be for not just altruistic either, but part of you, part of who you are. So when I thought I was going to be sick for the rest of my life, and, again, I couldn't play sports. I couldn't try to excel at school. I brain fogged during my SATs. I'm like, this is not me. This is not who I am. And so there's a real disconnect. It's called cognitive dissonance, who I thought I was, where I was right now in my life. And that led to some serious, mental anguish where I was not happy. And that's because I had these goals and I had these dreams of what I wanted to be, and they seemed impossible now because I wasn't going to be able to use my brain and I wasn't going to be able to use my body because both of those things were gone now. I had massive brain fog and debilitating fatigue, and I had awful insomnia and no energy, right? So I couldn't do all the things that I thought were a part of me. And so again, this was now impossible for me to get them back, and it made me quite depressed, quite down. So the problem is, though, if I had stayed in that same sphere of thought, I would not be where I am today. What happened was, and this was, again, it's not always within you, is that I just keep working the process. And what happened was, about 2 years after I got very, very sick, I met I'm going to, again, put this in air quotes, alternative medicine doctor. He was an MD, but he was trained overseas in Europe and Russia. So he had a different outlook than U.S. doctors 20 years ago. And he practiced functional medicine, although it wasn't called functional medicine really back then. So what he did, and when I met with him, is he began to show me, because I have a very analytical-based brain, is he began to show me on paper, listen, this is what you have now, but this is most likely how you got here. What I want to do are run some subclinical lab tests, not just blood work. I want to run a saliva-based test, an adrenal hormone test for your thyroid adrenal-based hormone, for your hormones. I want to look at your food sensitivities. I want to look at your gut health. I'm going to run an organic acids test. I'm going to run a stool test. I'm going to run a food sensitivity test. And they basically just went through a battery of labs. And we didn't have a lot of money, and that was a lot of money to be able to spend on those lab tests. But we did them, and I'll tell you in just a moment what happened from there. So at this stage, though, this is called the possible stage. It's possible. Not that it's going to happen, but it's just no longer impossible. That you have a glimmer of hope that you could achieve this once impossible goal. You don't believe yet, but you just believe it's possible. And the reason is that you saw someone, either like me, that explained it to you, that educated you in a new way that you had never heard before. So basically, like, it just bent, it like warped your way of thinking. You're saying, wait a minute, what you're saying makes sense. Why has no one else told me this before? That's why you're very dismissive and you don't quite believe yet, right? I didn't believe. I'm like, I don't know about this. But this is also what happens when you find someone, that you bump into someone at a seminar, or you bump into someone, at a yoga retreat or whatever it is, that had what you had, whether it's an issue with your weight, or issue with your health, relationships, etc., spirituality, and you meet them, and they're in a new spot, meaning they moved past where you're currently at, yet they suffered from the same impossible weight loss challenge or wellness challenge that you had. So it's very interesting. So you can bump into someone, you can meet someone, and you say, oh, they got over it. They came from the same type of background. They're basically just like me, except they're where I want to be. So you're still not convinced yet, but you're given hope by someone else, another human or a book or a program, that you too could achieve that goal. So now, because of someone showed you themselves as the after success story, or the doctor or integrative health practitioner showed you that there's another way besides conventional medicine, that there's another way to heal your body, that you can actually look at different systems within the body besides just the blood work, that understanding the blood work matters. It's essential to look at your blood work, but that it's a homeostatic fluid and that it's going to stay balanced for the most part. And when it's imbalanced, that's when there's something's really off. But before that ever happens, there will be other telltale signs. And you can use saliva, you can use hair, you can use urine, and you can use stool testing to figure out what else is going on in your body. And so when I ran those labs with that doctor, I realized this, that when I got the lab results back, I saw that, yes, I did have hormone imbalances, but part of that was because I was very depleted in all my B vitamins. I was depleted in vitamin C. I was depleted in my minerals. I was depleted in vitamin D. I had nothing left, basically, in my body. Of course, I was going to feel like I had no energy, right? And also, I was eating a lot of foods that I thought were healthy for me, and they weren't. You know, I was eating a lot of more like bodybuilding type foods. And the problem was, I was sensitive to a lot of those foods that were causing inflammation. And then when I got back my gut-based results beside my food sensitivities, I also saw that I had candida overgrowth, that I had SIBO, that I had all sorts of H. pylori and histamine-based issues because of that in my stomach, and that I wasn't being able to produce the proper amount of stomach acid, and I wasn't able to break down my food properly, which made sense because I was deficient in a lot of minerals. And I most likely had these things for many, many years before I even got sick. So now this doctor was beginning to teach me the disease pathology of how I got here. And I can follow a map, you know? And so if someone shows me, listen, you got here because of this, it makes sense that now my logical brain, right, that logical part of our brain that we can say, okay, well, if this is how we got here, it's very possible. Now it's possible, right? Now we'll say it's at this stage now it becomes probable that you'll get well if you can reverse this process, or that you can learn something new. So it's at this stage we moved from impossible. At once, this was impossible. Impossible. There's no way I could ever lose the weight. There's no way I could ever get well or get the career that I want, right? Until you're introduced to someone during the possible stage that gives you the education, or they present themselves as the success story of your before. They're the after, you're the before. They came from a background just like you, nothing special about them. Of course, they're special, but nothing special that they had some superhuman power that they were able to achieve it that you can't, right? So we move from impossible to possible. We're saying, I'm not convinced yet. I'm not convinced yet. But you know what? I have a glimmer of hope now. So it's possible. It's possible. That's all I need. I'm telling you, someone comes into my practice and it's possible that they can get well. That's all I need, right? Because now it becomes probable once I show you the lab results. Like, listen, you know, I would say it's a mystery to me as well, except when I run these lab tests, and I like to run the Dr. Cabral Big Five, but you can run whatever you want for labs. You know, even if you only want to start with one lab, just say, here it is. You know, like you've got an inverse calcium to magnesium ratio. You've got an inverse sodium to potassium ratio. You've got high copper and low zinc. You've got low B6 and low vitamin C. You've got candida overgrowth. You've got bacterial overgrowth in the gut that we've seen. You have food sensitivities to very common foods that you've been eating every single day. All of this is creating inflammation and immune imbalance in your body. That's leading to your migraines, your inflammation, your joint pain, your stiffness, your brain fog, your autoimmune-based issues with your intestinal permeability, your low energy, your grogginess, like all of those things, right? So at this stage, it's called the probable stage. You're probably going to get well once you correct these things, or you're probably going to be able to get the career that you want once you study the certification, or you're under the mentor that you're looking for, or you have someone to guide you, right? You're probably going to do well on your SATs. I don't think they do SATs anymore, so I'm totally dating myself there. But anyway, on your college entrance exams, we'll call them, if you have a tutor, right? Or if you take a course in that, you're probably going to do much better than you would have had you not. And if you take it one time and it doesn't work out, I don't know if you can take it again anymore. But after that, you've got through the one round. Okay, now I know what I need to do. You're probably going to do better. You're probably going to be able to put in more study, like all of those specific things. Same with, finding that perfect relationship. There's a really good possibility that you need to meet a bunch of people and, not be at your best before you do meet that person that's going to be right for you. So at the probable stage, you start to understand that you've found now the coach, the program, the mentor, or the blueprint to get people just like you the success you've been looking for, right? The blueprint or the book or the coach or the mentors already work with someone like you. And because of that, they're going to be able to get you those same results. So now it's probable that you're going to, in like my position, replace the B vitamins, replace the vitamin C, use some adrenal adaptogens, begin to remove my food sensitivities, do an intestinal program to get rid of the candida, get rid of the SIBO, get rid of the H. pylori, right? Once I do those things, I'm probably going to be well again because those are the things holding me back from getting well, right? So then we move into the last stage, which is the given. So now we've moved from the impossible to it's possible to it's probable, and now it's a given. So this is the final stage where even though your goal has not yet been manifested, it hasn't come into your life yet, you don't question whether it will happen or not. It's not an if anymore, but a when. That's it. Yes, it has not happened yet, but it's a given because I'm going to work the system. I'm going to work the blueprint. I'm going to work this protocol. I'm going to be guided by a mentor or coach or therapist or doctor or practitioner, whoever it is. And they are going to, along with me doing the work, because you're still the one, right? Like even if you work with someone 1 hour a week, right? You're with them 1 hour of that 168 hours. It's still on you. You deserve all the credit and all the responsibility in your life. That's it. Because no matter what, you can work with the best coach, the best mentor, the best doctor, or you can read the best books and the best blueprints. But at the end of the day, it's your success. It's your failure. It's your responsibility. It's all of those things. And you know how I look at it. There's no such thing really as failures. That if you did something and you didn't get it right, you didn't fail, you figured out one more way, as long as you don't repeat it, that it's not going to work. And I tell people over and over, there are only so many ways to get well, to lose the weight, to transform your body, transform your life, get the career you want. There's only so many ways. I tell people there's only 6 reasons why your cholesterol could be elevated. Let's say we never lab tested. Let's say we didn't do anything. We just worked through the 6. How long is that really going to take us to figure out? Probably 2 months times 6, it's a year maximum. And then you figured it out. But now luckily, we don't have to work on just one at a time. We could even work on all 6 if we wanted to at a time. Or we could lab test and get the specifics. I just find it's so important that not only you understand this information, that you give that hope to others. That you just tell them, listen, there are other people doing this right now. You don't even have to believe, because remember, not believing is at the impossible stage. I understand that. Everyone has beliefs in their life. There are things in my life right now that I probably think are impossible as well, and I know this, right? I know these things. But still, I mean, when you look at life, you say, okay, these are things that I've been told or programmed to believe I can achieve, and these are the things that I've been told to believe I can't achieve. And those are impossible, right? So you don't go after the impossible, even though you would love some of those things in your life. What you go after are the things that you believe you can achieve. So you're not really pushing your boundaries. What I need you to do is to look at some of those bucket list goals. And you can just go to stephencabral.com/podcasts. In the search bar, type in bucket list. I teach you a realistic way of creating a bucket list for your life. But you have to start now. What I want you to do is I want you to begin to look at your life and say, what is it that I believe is impossible, that I would love to have in my life? Because those things are simply programs running in your mind as to why you can't achieve them. Because I've already given you now the 4-part goal achievement cycle. And it looks like this. What was once impossible becomes possible once you've met a person that was once in your shoes achieve that thing. For me, that came through reading books, and it came with meeting a practitioner, a doctor who said, there's a reason why. You have never been told, though, that there's a cycle that happened because of this, that you had blood sugar dysregulation, that you had mineral imbalances, that you had vitamin depletion. So that it became possible. Hey, this is possible. I don't believe it yet, but it's possible. It's possible. I'm going to reserve some hope right now. And then at the probable stage, the next stage, you meet the mentor or you read the book that the person that you met that was the success story said, hey, this is what I did. Read this book. Follow the book. Follow the blueprint. Follow the system. Achieve the same results that I did. And now you're saying, well, not only do I see the person in real life achieve the goals that I wanted, they came from the same similar background. And now I'm saying, if I follow this program too, the likelihood that I achieve those results is going to be pretty good. Is it going to be a straightforward line? No. We all have obstacles that we encounter. But it's probable now that if I follow the same formula, the same system, or go to the same practitioner, that I'll likely get the results that I want to, as long as I'm willing to do the work just like that other person was. And if you don't know about that, check out last week's podcast as well, last week's Motivation and Mindset Monday, where I do talk about that, the daily moving forward towards your goals. And the last part is this. Now that you know it's probable that you will achieve your goals, the last stage comes to fruition. And this is the last stage where now you believe. You believe, you understand, you start to get some small wins along the way. That it is not an if of whether you'll get well, lose the weight, get the career that you want, be in the relationship that you want, or hold the spirituality that you want inside of you. It's not a matter of if, but when. And that is the absolute best place to be. I really believe that. Sometimes it's not even the best in the world to get your goal, to achieve your end goal. Because I am such a believer now in the journey that a lot of the fun happens along the way. And if we can look at that, our life begins to change. It truly does. Because now we're happy without even yet having our goal. And we're happy because we know it's a given. We don't know if it will happen next week. We don't know if it will happen even this month or even this year. But it will happen. We've seen some small wins. We're willing to work towards it. And we can't wait for that day to manifest itself. That's when it becomes a given. Hopefully you do understand this process, that if you need to play it back again, there's nothing wrong with that. Play it back again, listen to it, begin to understand that it's only because of programming that we have what we call impossible goals that we could never achieve. And remember, just because no one in your family, no one in your social circle of friends, no one in your community has ever done it before, doesn't mean that there's not some person out there right now that hasn't already done it. And if they've done it, so can you. And it doesn't mean that there isn't the system, the blueprint, the book, the doctor, the practitioner that can get you to your goals as well. All you have to start to believe is that it's possible. You don't have to know how to get there yet. You just have to understand that all of the goals that you've lumped as impossible are possible, and then you can move through the probable stage and the given stage with time. Just give it time. Hopefully today's podcast was helpful. I thank you so much for tuning in. As always, if this information was helpful, please do share it with anyone else you believe it could serve. Before you go, I wanted to share a personal story with you. The real reason I began to get well finally is because I figured out what was wrong with me. And that might seem pretty obvious, but I went from doctor to doctor for over 2 years before discovering at-home functional medicine lab testing. These are the labs that enabled me to finally figure out what was wrong with my hormones, blood sugar, electrolytes, and gut health. And once I knew what was wrong, I could then follow a proven plan in order to rebalance my body from the inside out. This is why I believe so strongly in functional medicine lab testing and why I've made it my mission to share these labs with the world. Now at equa.life, you can order an at-home lab test or lab bundle for you and your family and be able to complete it within the week. Plus, the EquaLife difference is that you're not left to try to read and figure out these labs on your own. We explain what your lab numbers mean, what they mean in the much bigger picture, and then how to go about rebalancing your body in order to heal. To see our full selection of lab tests, or to set up a free lab selection call to find out what labs may be best for you, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. And do remember, we ship these all over the world. To find out more and to set up your free lab selection call, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. That's EQUI.LIFE/labs.